So if you are somebody of means, you can define that however you want. And maybe you are retired, maybe you're approaching retirement, or maybe you're somebody who's, let's say, in your prime working years, but you know, based on where you're at in life, you're going to retire very comfortably. My question for you is whether or not you think morally you should be allowed to take Social Security. I asked that because it came up last night in the debate. And I think it's a really interesting conversation. I'm not going to break down the debate part of this. I want to have the conversation with you at 913-408-7957 because it came from, of all people, Chris Christie. Now, I'm not here to be a Chris Christie fan because he's not going to be the nominee. He shouldn't really be on the stage. But it brings up an interesting topic. We know that Social Security is doomed. I have said for many years on this show that if you are of a certain age, if you're approaching retirement, I wouldn't touch your Social Security, but it has to change. It has to be adjusted. It's not solvent. It will be in major trouble here in the next 5 to 10 years. We've known that for a long time. It does end up becoming like a Ponzi scheme because they have raided the Social Security funds for so many years. So that's just how it's set up. It's a flawed system. It has been forever. But if you're somebody who is accepting it or is getting it right now or is close to getting it, I'm not here to take it away from you or touch it at all. But it does have to change. Adults have to come together and figure out how to fix it. But Republicans know that it's, become this third rail issue. You can't say anything about it because, Democrats are going to run on, See, those Republicans are going to take away your Social Security. You can't trust them.
How dare you? And,
of course, that's not true. It's just having an adult conversation about a budget that we are not meeting and the fact that we are $30-something trillion in debt. I can't even keep track of what it is anymore. 31, 32, 33, something like that, trillion dollars in debt. Adults, ideally across the aisle, have to figure out how to fix it. So last night, I'm listening to this debate, and Chris Christie says the following about how wealthy people should not collect Social Security. And then we'll get to you at 913-408-7957.
We have to deal with this problem. Now, look, if we raise the retirement age a few years for folks that are in their 30s and 40s, I have a son who's in the audience tonight who's 30 years old. If he can't adjust to a few-year increase in Social Security retirement age over the next 40 years, I got bigger problems with him than his Social Security payments. And the fact is, we need to be realistic about this. There are only three things that go into determining whether Social Security can be solvent or not: retirement age, eligibility for the program in general, and taxes. That's it. We are already overtaxed in this country, and we should not raise those taxes. But on eligibility also, I don't know if out there tonight, and if you're watching Warren, I don't know if Warren Buffett is collecting Social Security, but if he is, shame on you. You shouldn't be taking the money. There are a lot of programs in this country that we all pay for that we don't get a direct benefit from. Food stamps is one of them. I've never, fortunately in my life, ever had me or my family on food stamps, but I'm glad it's there so that no one in this country goes to bed hungry at night if they have availability to that program. But I don't get a direct benefit. The fact is, on Social Security, remember why it was established. It was established as a safety net program to make sure that no one would grow old in this country in poverty. That's what we got to get back to. Rich people should not be collecting Social Security.
Governor, can you give me a specific age, 69, 70? What would the age be?
No, look, that's going to be a part of a negotiation with Congress, Kirsten. And hell, I'm not going to start negotiating until I get there.
All right. And he's not going to get there, but I get him saying that. So that's Chris Christie effectively saying rich people should not collect Social Security. That's part of the way we fix the problem. He brought up a good point, though. What are the three issues that impact Social Security and how to fix it? You can either raise the age, you can either adjust who is eligible and who is not, or you can raise taxes. And, of course, the third one, that's not going to fly. Now, of course, some people will just say, well, just raise taxes on the rich. Trust me, there's not enough rich people to pay for this. I promise you. Despite what your friends in academia tell you, it's not feasible. You're going to have to tax the hell out of the middle class. And by the way, next time you want to actually see how much money you put into Social Security, look at your pay stub. You're talking hundreds of dollars, most likely. every month that you're paying into Social Security. It's what, I think 6.5% up to a certain threshold that you're paying of your paycheck into Social Security. Every single paycheck. Look it up. I know no one gets pay stubs anymore, but look it up in your, work portal or whatever. And you'll be like, wow, I'm getting fleeced that much for this program, huh? But it's going to be insolvent pretty soon. So if you are somebody of means, and I know, maybe you want to text in. I know some of you don't want to brag, but do you think it's something that people of means should be taking? So this came through on the text line, and I thought this was the most interesting text as I'm scrolling through them here and trying to keep tabs on KCMO. 913-408-7957. That's the studio line and the text line. Here's this text that is really interesting and hits at a key point. It's an emotional point of this conversation. It says, Pete, I'm at my office. I can't call in, but I'm 57 years old. I'm a female executive in the healthcare industry, and I have never counted on my Social Security. However, I have paid into that Social Security my entire working life. I paid into it when I could barely feed my babies. Do I need it? No. But it was my money to begin with that I did not get to invest myself. And that right there is a great emotional part of this conversation. First off, and I know George W. Bush tried to do this 20 years ago, but could you imagine if we took Social Security monies and we set it aside in a 401k style plan, how much more money people would have? And it'd be their money and they could pass it on to their kids or grandkids or spouse when they moved on. We would have so much more wealth in this country. But when George W. Bush tried to do it, this guy's trying to take away your Social Security. And frankly, people who can't do math and are very dumb bought that. It's really that simple. We would have so much more generational wealth in this country if we had a 401k style system like this for Social Security, rather than, let's hope we live till the age of fill in the blank, and then we might be able to collect a couple grand a month or whatever it turns out to be. Jeez. But you get into this point where this lady's saying, hey, when I couldn't feed my kids, she's saying I'm 57 now, but when I couldn't feed my kids, that money was taken out of my paycheck. I couldn't invest it. I couldn't do anything about it. I couldn't touch it. So there's a part of her that is saying, do I need it? No. But to stick it to the government, which hosed me when I was young, which made me struggle more than I already was struggling when I had little kids, I want to take it. And I get it. Like that emotional side, I understand and I'm sympathetic to. Because I would like to think that we'd all say, hey, if you're somebody of means, and just like Chris Christie said in that clip, if you don't need food stamps, okay, great. You don't need food stamps, even though you're technically paying for the system. But something about Social Security is more personal to us. Because we see that direct line come out of our paycheck every couple of weeks. Right? It's not like it's just federal taxes where you don't know where the heck the money's going. Is it Ukraine? Is it food stamps? What's it for? You see and you know that Social Security is coming out every month, and it's supposed to be there for you at the end. And that's why this issue is so complex. 913-408-7957. I want to get you in on the conversation here on the phones or on the text line on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. It's not easy. There's no right or wrong. I'm not here to judge you on it, but I'm here to ask the simple question. People of means, if you are one, or maybe you're on your way to being one, would you be willing to give up that Social Security check down the line for the system and for the American people at large? And it brings up another conversation. Do we have that American camaraderie today that we might have had on this issue a generation or two ago? 913-408-7957. We'll get to you here coming up on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. Hit that preset also on the KCMO Talk Radio app. So forget the debate last night, who won, who lost. I mean, you could do that, but it's kind of boring and a moot point right now. But Social Security is obviously a problem. It is heading off a cliff. It is going to be insolvent here in the next 10 years or so of the estimations. So what do you do about it? Well, Chris Christie on stage last night said that effectively people of means, rich people, should not be collecting Social Security. And that's one way to fix it. He said you can fix it either through who's eligible, the age of eligibility, or taxes. And Christie said no taxes, but he said, maybe you bump up the age for the younger folks and you change who is eligible for the program. So I wanted to get you in on this and, figure out if that's a way to actually make this thing somewhat solvent again. Let's start with Rick in Lafayette County. What's up, Rick? Go.
Hey, Pete, one thing you're missing and a couple other points I'd like to point out is that your employer also puts in 7%, and that's not even credited to you. When you get your report on how much you put in every year, it only shows the amount you put in, not the amount your employer put in your name.
Good point.
So if you had that much money, the wealth in the middle class would be, I don't know, maybe twice. I don't know how to do the figuring, but it'd be significantly more than it is right now.
Yeah. That is an outstanding point, Rick. I'm glad you brought it up. I mean, if your money doubles depending on how good the market's doing, let's just say it's 8 to 10 years, and you're putting all that money aside into a 401k style system, which George W. Bush did push about 20 years ago. I mean, it's a game changer for the middle class. Instead, the government wants to feel like they're responsible. They're being the good guys on your behalf, and that's what makes Social Security, unfortunately, that third rail. And people who can't do math, who can't understand the idea of compound interest, aren't fans of it. Phil is in Lee Summit. Go ahead, Phil.
Well, I've been paying in Social Security for 55 years. I'm still paying in Social Security. I still have to pay a penalty for my Medicare and my Part D because I'm still making money. I'm 71. I just started receiving my Social Security. And by golly, it's not an entitlement. I've paid in a ton of money. Not only that, I've been self-employed, so I've been paying both sides of that Social Security money into the government. I've received no other government assistance in my whole life. I've paid for my college, I paid for my kids' college, and they want to use my money to pay other people's college. I finally got to the point where I can get back something that I've paid in, that I have paid in for 55 years. And it irks me when you guys talk about it like an entitlement, and that I shouldn't get a payback for all the money that I've paid in for all these years.
Hey, no one said anything about it. Phil, no, I don't, you're totally missing the point of the conversation with all due respect. You've completely missed the point. We're bringing it up from the standpoint of whether or not that's part of how you fix it. That's it. It's not about me. It's not about you guys. You've completely missed the point.
Well, when you're saying that people... Okay, so I'm well-heeled, right? But it's because I've worked my whole life,
of course.
And I continue to work.
Phil, I think I'm on your side. Phil, I'm on your side, brother. I'm on your side, brother, okay? I mean, you're once again, you're missing the point here. I'm on your side on this thing. I'm just asking the question as to whether or not folks in your shoes would be willing to say, you know what, I won't take it. I've done well. And most people, I believe, on the calls here are going to agree with you, Phil.
So the answer to the question is yes, I'm going to take it.
Okay. God bless you, man. That's great. And you know what? You should. And I would, too, if I was in your shoes, Phil. I would. Let's go to Justin. He's in Lee Summit. What's up, Justin?
Hi, Pete. Thanks for having me. Some of my points were already brought up, the employer side. But, again, 15.2% of every paycheck going into 401k would certainly, change the trajectory of most people's retirement. But, one thing that we could look at, I think, that could help make it solvent for a little bit longer is, right now the entitlement does stop at once you make $160,000, you no longer pay into Social Security. I don't think we're going to have a ton of people that would scream from the rooftops if, yes, your benefit stops once you put into 160, but if we kept taxing Social Security past that limit, I think that would be at least a short-term gap that could help. If you make $300,000 a year, you keep paying your 7.65% of every paycheck in. And that's what, we're not adding on a new tax, but at least that could keep it solvent. I don't want to. I don't want to pay more, but I think that could be something we could look at.
Yeah, and that actually may work on a bipartisan basis. I agree. I'm not a fan of it. I'm never going to be a fan of more taxes. But,
right.
Here's the thing, though. That just feels like a stopgap to me. Like, that doesn't feel like
Absolutely.
It really fixes the problem.
No, it doesn't, right? But I think at least we have a stopgap. And, yes, you're probably going to have to raise retirement age. We already did it.
Yeah.
We changed it from 66 to 67. You're going to have to move from 67 to 68. And, I mean, it's inevitable. It's the only way to get it completely solvent. But, at least a Band-Aid would be, if you make $190,000, that last $3,000 you're still paying into Social Security on.
Interesting. Good stuff, Justin. Thanks, man. Let's roll to Jim in Blue Springs. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, this isn't going to solve the problem of financial stability on Social Security, but for those who have the means and don't want to take it, there should be a direct write-off on your taxes once you retire, that if you don't take your Social Security, like I'm estimated when I retire, I'm going to pull close to $20,000 a year or more. And so if I didn't take it, I should be able to write that off on my taxes on top of everything else I write off if I still do something. You know what I'm saying? As far as your income 401k. And that would be a betterment to the people that don't need it. You know what I'm saying?
At least it's an option for them. You're right about that. Thanks so much there, Jim. I'm open to that, man. I am. Let's go to John in Kansas City. Hey, John, go ahead.
Hey, Pete. I got a couple of solutions for this, and just bear with me. Have you ever seen the movie Super Troopers?
No.
Okay, well, they emphasize all the benefits for citizens. So if you're a non-citizen, you don't get certain things. We need to flip the script and tax immigrants more for a period of time to help build back up Social Security. And although I'm not a fan of Obamacare, if they wanted to do the same thing for retirement accounts and phase out of Social Security, that is automatically taken out of everyone's paycheck for their own individual retirement account. Once again, the middle class would boom. Everybody would have a retirement in their own personal thing, so there would be no surplus. The government couldn't get their hands on it. And then when people die and they have this excess amount of money, it's given to their kids or back into the community.
Yeah, I love that idea, and I think that a lot of people would be proponents of that, and unfortunately it hasn't gotten any traction. Let's go to DK in Olathe. What's up, DK? You're last up. Got a minute.
Yeah, so, everyone says there's three solutions, right? Wrong. The fourth solution is these boneheads stop squandering our money away. For 20, 30, 40 years, they've squandered it. They've stolen from Social Security. They've raided it to pay for every stupid entitlement that is not needed in America. So this whole idea that it's only three options to the solution is bogus. It's not a cash problem. It is a spending problem. Always has been, always will be. As long as we keep voting these clowns into office, they're going to continue fleecing our dollars and not keeping Social Security solvent. It's their problem, not ours. It's our money we put into it. We get it back. That's all there is to it.
DK, thank you, brother. Appreciate it, man. I think that's certainly an angle that should not be overlooked. I'll leave you with this text I got from someone who says they're well off, but this is BS. I paid a lot of money into Social Security over all my working years, and you're going to tell me you're taking my money so you can give it to someone who didn't plan for their own retirement? Listen, I think that is going to be a sentiment that is going to permeate on this topic, and that's why Chris Christie's got no juice on that thing, telling people it means. Whether it's the mother who said she couldn't feed her babies early on, even though she's well off right now, or anybody else. You know what? Paid into it. You guys got to fix the system. That's what you got to do.